Hi, this is Zach here with the Bulletin Board Heroes here at Zach's Traders Cafe for Wednesday, the 17th of July. Starting with the FTSE 100, which is now hanging below that rising trend channel from October, 81.70, the nominal level of that support line. While we're below that, looking for potentially hitting that red May support line projection, 80.60. Obviously, a bit of an inflation disappointment in the mix today. But we've also got, from a technical perspective, these multiple failures at RSI 55, which is certainly not a good look and can be a leading indicator on a big move to the downside. Obviously, it hasn't happened yet, and the market is also rather dead in a range between, let's say, 8100 and 8300, so not much to make of that yet, but that is a warning of a potential move to the downside. To get out of the downside scenario, end of day close above 81.70, then takes us up to the top of that falling May channel there as high as 82.85, and let's hope that we manage to do that. Moving on to the DAX, and here the situation is that we are still in the rising trend channel from back in the autumn. The floor of the channel there around 18,400. Want to see a proper break of that May resistance line there. We had a bull trap, 2-day bull trap through that line there at 18,650, and above that looking for obviously a retest of the best levels towards 19,000, but at the moment going with the RSI being over 50 and the market holding above the floor of that channel. Moving on to the Dow, which seems to be in a world of its own, maybe a Trumpian world of its own. Here we've got the market heading towards that 42,000 price channel top, which we were looking for by the end of next month. The way things are going, we could get that by the end of this month, but while we're above the 40,000 level, which is obviously the post-March resistance before the breakout that we've had this week. Moving along to the Bitcoin situation here, hopes of a long-awaited revival. We're through the 50-day line. We had a bear trap rebound from below June support there at 58,600, and we've had 3 days now above the 50-day line, 63,800. Initial target here up to 71,000 and that March resistance line. RSI still only at 62. We had the bear trap rebound accompanied by bullish divergence, and that was the key and the clue to a revival here. Moving on to gold, which is also in fine fettle at the moment, and here new closing highs, which everyone on Twitter has just managed to tweet out about in very excited ways if one wouldn't notice these things otherwise. Rising trend channel there from December, top of the channel there heading now for 26.05, and looking for that by the end of next month. Obviously the way things are going, could be a little bit quicker than that, and hopefully that is the case. Downside at the moment limited hopefully to the 24 to 24.20 area on this market. Moving on to the stocks, and quite a selection today, maybe too many actually, but starting off with Argo blockchain, very happy with this one given the way that it was given an early bird mention yesterday, and the shares are up 15% today. We've hit the top of that falling trend channel. Next target here, the 200-day moving average, 12.6 pence. Best case scenario is up to 17 pence, maybe by the end of this month, or 2 to 4 week view on that. Upside value while we're above the 50-day line at 10 pence. Moving on to a stock which I've never looked at here before, ActiveOps, and here you can see that we've got a rising trend channel, a wide one from this time last year. Top of the July trend channel there as high as £1.40, and we're looking for that by the end of next month while we remain above the recent support for this market at £1.10, and that's also the resistance, previous one-year resistance for the shares. 50 and 200-day lines both rising. That also helps the cause, as does the unfilled gap to the upside that we had at the beginning of this month. Always good to see that step fashion progression that tends to be there in the strongest of situations. Moving on to ARC Minerals, and here you can see that we've got this broadening triangle base, and basically we had a sort of 2-day break below it, but the top of the triangle there heading for up to 2.2 pence, and a U-shaped turnaround was also a pretty strong configuration. That suggests that we should hopefully hit 2.2 pence by the end of next month, or even sooner than that. Moving on to Bezant, and here stock has been on the ropes, but we had an unfilled gap to the upside to start this month. We've got a rising 50-day line as well there at 0.02, looking for 0.028 over the next few weeks, perhaps by the beginning of next month or the first week of next month. But the key here is staying above the floor of that gap there at 0.02 pence. Return of Clontarf, after a decent call previously. We had our first target there at 0.07, second one at 0.11. Looks like we bounced at 0.08, the old resistance from September, November. And above that, looking for not only 0.11, but also the ultimate target here, 0.16, which is what we were looking for as a best case scenario target. We're also in the aftermath of a golden cross, which hopefully will provide extra momentum for the shares. The next stock is a stock we haven't looked at for quite a while, but it looks as though it is back in business. And here we've got CMRS, otherwise known as Critical Mineral Resources. Here, rising trend channel base. The target there, 1.77 pence. Above that, looking for up to 2.5 pence by the end of next month. We've got a rising 50-day line, and we've seen the shares bounce off that over the recent past, and also bounce off RSI 50, which tends to be a leading indicator on the upside. So above the 50-day line at 1.25, looking for 2.5 pence by the end of August. Very happy to see CleanTech move up. CleanTech Lithium, we had the call here around the 14 pence level on the basis that this looked like a rising trend channel base. That proved to be the case, and at the top of the channel there up to 29 pence, which we're looking for by the end of next month. Ideally, we actually get there by the end of this month. Looks as though there's been a change in sentiment. You can see all these very strong candles there, opening at the low, closing at the high on several days in a row, and that does suggest a change in sentiment. We're also above the 200-day line now at 20 pence for the first time since October. Ideally, we stay above the 50-day line at 19 pence ahead of that move to 29 pence. A lot of interest in Fusion Antibody, not just because it's got a cool epic code, but also because first signs of recovery here. Here we had the shares bounce off a support line projection from back in March. In fact, you could argue that it's actually there from back in November, which is a plus. And really looking for the shares to break out of this wedge formation, that resistance line there at 3.8 pence. Above that, looking for 4.5 pence, hopefully quite quickly, given the way that it looks as though there's a change in the price action here. The shares today opening up at the low and so far at the high, and it's also a bear trap rebound from below the old April support there at 3.1 pence. The longer we stay above the 50-day line on an end-of-day close basis at 3.3, the greater the chance of a move to 4.5 pence over the next 2 to 4 weeks, and perhaps even more, given that we're due the kind of spikes that we had in November and January. We haven't had that for quite some time. Moving on to Great Western Mining, which is also looking as though it's back in business for the bulls. Unfilled gap to the upside off a 50-day moving average, which is now rising. It's also completing an island reversal. So we had a gap down back in June and a gap up now. So strong formation there. Also bouncing off the old pre-June support there at 0.038. And above that, looking for a best case scenario here as high as 0.07 by the end of next month. Once again, we're probably overdue a little rally, even if that's sold into afterwards, which tends to be the case with GWMO. Obviously, the gold price helping lots of stocks at the moment, rather better perhaps than previously. And here we're looking at Golden Prospect. Here we've got a rising trend channel that's been in place since back in January. And we also had a gap close signal earlier in the week as well, perhaps last week, above 33 pence. View now is that the longer we stay above the floor of the channel there at 33.5 pence, the greater the chance of a move up to 43 pence. And hopefully we'll see that over the next 2 to 4 weeks. That rising 50-day line also helping the cause and boosting the look of that situation. On to Genedrive, where thoughts that perhaps everyone and their mother already got into the shares would limit the upside here, but actually we've got a bear trap island reversal, so gapping down to new lows back in May and gapping up for July. The longer we stay above the top of that gap there at 3.3 pence, the greater the chance of a move to 8 pence by the end of next month, or hopefully, given how strong that bear trap island reversal pattern is, sooner than that. I suppose the best case is that we get there by the end of this month. On to another highly followed favorite, Helium 1, and here we've got a rising trend channel that's been in place since June, or able to draw one from June. Gap close that we had in the middle of last month above the old gap there at 1 pence. And we basically found support at that level and the 50-day line 1.07. The longer we stay above the 50-day line, the greater the chance of a move to 2 pence and the 200-day moving average by the end of next month or even sooner. Perhaps we could even get there once again by the end of this month. Covered Ovoca a day or two ago, and here we've got a rising trend channel base. Beautiful break of the clean break of the 200-day line there at 0.95 pence. Above that, looking for the top of that rising trend channel at 1.55 pence over the next couple of weeks. Best case is that we get to 2 pence by the end of next month, while we remain above the 200-day moving average at 0.96. On to the last two. First one is Polarean, and here you can see that we've got a rising trend channel base. Been looking for this to deliver the goods for a little while now, but the top of the channel there, 2.5 pence, and looking for that by the end of next month or even sooner, while we remain above the price channel floor at 1.55 pence. If you're cautious, you wait for an end of day close above the 50-day line at 1.95 pence before assuming that we are out of the woods. Finishing off with a more humorous chart, Premier African. You've got to laugh after all the events of the company that's been there over the recent past. And here, first sign of bullish divergence, so lower lows therefore yesterday, but higher RSI trace and a very strong handle. So something going on there. The minimum target here now on the upside, 0.1 pence. And the shares could even squeeze up to the 50-day line at 0.12 pence. But obviously, this has been a falling knife and very difficult to say anything more positive than that, especially with the potential dilution that would just undermine the share price. That's it for me today. More updates tomorrow.